Hello, hello.
We have been live and I have been sweating on Facebook. Can you hear me okay?
Okay, I'm gonna fan you.
I need some fanning. I wore my sparkles.
Sparkles.
I wore my sparkles for this book. I'm getting tears in my eyes. This book is unbelievable.
I know. I like it.
About yourself, do you feel like something really amazing came through you?
I do. And I just really hope that that people will pick it up and not just go, oh no, not that subject. Or I don't want to deal with that. You know, I invite you in. I invite you into the discussion and to get to know the people and to feel like you can talk about it for a change.
Well, here's the thing. Yeah, it's a rough subject, but the story is still gorgeous. So in one of my reviews on Instagram, I compared it to East of Eden, where it's this epic story that nothing much good really happens, but and a lot of the people aren't in the story aren't necessarily good people, but they're your family,
Yes.
and you get to know them, and that's what I feel like with this book. I mean, you don't like most of them, but they're your family, like, and you understand them and you get where they're coming from. So let's talk a little bit about that.
Yes. Well, I have to say, you are like taking the words right out of my mouth because that was indeed where I wanted to go and what I wanted to do. I had to think about before I began to write it, why don't we want to talk about this? Of course, there's that feeling of, that feeling of guilt. And then you feel defensive. You don't have to feel guilt. No, and then there is the overwhelming sense of pain that it is long enduring, even if you can't articulate it. This is where it comes from.
Yeah.
As particularly for African Americans,
Yeah.
this is the origin of that pain, and so it is a hard subject to talk about. But I mean, I think you done peeped my whole card because um, this was my thought was that we have family who we love and we hate, and who we love and who we can't stand. But they are still our blood. They are still our family, and so we deal with them, or we put them in a place where we can deal with them, or we stay away from them. And so that's how I wanted to think of the characters here. That you might not like them, but at times you might root for them or you might understand them. And damn it, I don't want to understand you. You don't understand me. I don't want to understand you. But see, this is the crux of a lot of what's going on and why we're having a hard time reconciling. This painful past. And so I it was, but trust me, 30-year-old Rita would not have written this book.
Want
But
to touch it. We
I'd
don't want
have
to touch it.
yeah, I'd have to live first and really have a better sense of the human condition before I could really sit down and write this. So um,
It feels like that. It feels like a, a masterpiece. It does, and time will tell. But I'll be shocked if it's not. So, I got the advanced copy of the book, and I read your little story about what inspired you of this child asking a
yeah,
question at I forget what you were speaking someplace. So let's
yeah.
talk about that. Let's talk about what the child asked you and what it awoke within you.
Well, I was at a screening for a film about the Black Panthers by filmmaker Stanley Nelson, Black Panthers, Vanguard of the Revolution. I was actually a participant. I spoke about being a child in the late 1960s. My family had come through hard times, and there was a time that my sister, brother, and I went off and sat down and had breakfast, courtesy of the Black Panthers. So. And that was hard for my father because he was a proud military man. Um, so long story short, so there I was on the panel, and a child comes up to to the microphone and asks, "Why do they hate us?" And you could feel the tears in his, like streaming down his face. And so there was a woman, and sitting next to me, and she was like, "All right, now you're here for the children, answer." I was like, that just like poke me, answer, you know, and so I said, when they see us, they don't see a human being. And I probably went on a little more to say that it's easy to treat someone badly, to brutalize them if you deny their humanity,
Right.
that kind of thing. And I just felt like, even after that, I just felt like, oh, I didn't answer his question. I didn't give him something for his heart. And so I knew that I was going to be writing this book, going back to the source and talking about it. The thing I
So
said I would never do.
yeah, and so that's what you don't need to tell us. That's what you show us in a sitting in St. James, by showing the interaction of these white plantation owners with the enslaved people. And I'm going to interrupt myself because this is something we need to talk about, and people need to know if they haven't encountered this, using the phrase enslaved person
Yes.
versus slave.
Yeah.
So I have not read a book like this. And so for me, when I first read that phrase in your book, it hit me. It made a difference. For anybody out there who says it does not make a difference, it makes a difference to say, here is a person who has been enslaved versus a slave. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about that word.
Well, first of all, let me just give thanks to a young lady, and okay, I'm sorry, y'all. I'm 64. I forgot her name, but she had made a post about using the word enslaved instead. And this was just a couple of years ago, and I really sat down and I thought about it. I thought about it and I thought about it. And I said, well, yes, she didn't go into detail, but I had to really breathe that in and just, take that with me on my walk and just think about it, because I grew up with a grandmother who was raised by an enslaved woman. And so her word had always been slave. And so, it's very hard. I think about my grandmother and her words, and how her great grandmother had referred to herself and to the condition, that they survived. Um, and so I was thinking, okay, is this just newspeak, or really sit with this and think about it? Because I have gone with all the evolutions of what African Americans call themselves, and so is this yet another evolution, or just simply a deeper understanding, and therefore reckoning and recognizing? And so I said, well, yes, because when I was writing a middle grade book, Gone Crazy in Alabama, I subconsciously was resisting using the word slave. And I believe I did use it once, but I was resisting it because these when I write characters, they become my people. And so, these were my people, and it was not that I was ashamed of the condition that slavery created, but they were more than somebody's workforce, somebody's property, somebody's thing. And so it was just hard for me at that time to just, use that word repeatedly. And so I resisted it. So when the update in the term came along, it, I really had to walk around with it, but I think I was on board before, like even before I really consciously knew. So, this is just something.
As you know, as a reader, I can absolutely confirm it makes a powerful difference that hits the crux of what you're saying, which is these white plantation owners and many people today, and it is so horrible to even say that, but it's a truth that we have to admit if we're going to heal and move beyond it. We can't not talk about it. It's true. People are still being taught that, because
Yeah.
you know what, the little ones, when they're taught it, they're not born that way. My mom was a nursery school teacher, and she had a little boy who was tiny, and he came in every day saying he wanted to be Larry Bird, the white Celtics basketball player. And one day he came in wanting to be Michael Jordan, because he found out that because he was a little black boy, he couldn't be Larry. Somebody told him, to him,
Oh,
to
yeah.
him, he could be Larry Bird,
Yeah.
And to me, that is the example that stays in my mind, that these little ones are not born with that. They're taught a perspective, and it's up. I mean, honestly, it's up to not the people who are being victimized by racism to do something, but the rest of it, it has to really, really matter.
And so here's the thing that's kind of that's interesting and tricky about that, because yes, I agree. This is learned behavior, and then it becomes accepted behavior to the point that it doesn't occur to you that there's something wrong with it. Um, but then there's also the other side. Whereas I remember this was in the late 1970s, and I was at the mall, because the mall has it all, just strolling around. And so they had these like pinball wizard games. And so this boy wanted to go and play. But then, oh, see, I'm okay. I will identify. This white kid wanted to play, and he went up to, like he was right there ready to play, put in his quarter. And then a black kid kind of slowly came up behind him. So then the white kid's mother stops her son and says, no, let him play. Now, mom was trying to write like 300 years of slavery all in one pinball game. And all she did was frustrate her son and make him angry at the little black kid. So it's, we all have a lot of learning to do
We do.
in having the best of intentions, and wanting to correct something. But correction, you, that's all well and good, but you really have to have the reckoning, the acknowledgement of what it is, what it means to me, because it means something to everyone here in this nation. What it means, and how do I move in this world, because I know what I know.
Right,
We have to be willing to know.
right. And that's again what happened here. So let's talk about the story a little bit. So Madam Sylvie is she's, she's one of the ones, whoa, if she's like, there's just sort of nothing particularly likable about her. But you still, I don't know. I mean, is it possible like you love her even though you don't like her? Um,
But don't we feel that way about certain family members? Of
yeah,
course we do.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. There's a Jill Scott song, Family Reunion, and she's just kind of singing about like everybody coming through, and not everyone is so nice to each other, and like there's the drunk one, and here's the one who's always yelling mean things, and here's the one who's has some trouble with drugs and alcohol and things like that, and one of them in the song is abusive, and they're still the family.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right.
um so, and one of the things that's extraordinary is, so she has her enslaved, like basically a handmaid,
Yeah.
in Thisbe, who
Yes.
does everything for her. So I'm curious, how did her character come about? Tell us a little about Thisbe and how she came to life in your
Well,
story.
um, I had an idea about Thisbe, and I wanted her to represent the very plain folk, the heroism in just simply being, um, and uh, I this is not against our heroes because where would we be without them? But we we don't recognize the heroism in our mothers and fathers, in our grandparents, in our great grandparents, in our aunts and uncles, in the very plain way that they have lived their lives in whatever whatever they had to go through. That is enough. That is simply enough. And those who survived slavery, and whether they were in the field or or if they were in the house or if they were farmed out to do other work because people had different talents, and they could and their slaveholders um, could earn more money by farming them out. Anyway, you know, just simply because they lived and that they loved, um, and is is enough. Just it's simply that you are, um, and so I did not want to make her into an obvious heroine, that we like her because she does this and she knows that and she puts madam in her place and she is the one who does the this that causes the that, and those kinds of things that we attribute um, to protagonists. It is simply enough that she breathes through this through being jailed within herself. And even within that, she has immense freedom of her own. But it's still, she is not free, but she finds a kind of a freedom within herself.
Right.
So it was, trying to create someone who is um, bound in physically, um, and but within there is a spirit, um, there is great thinking going on, um, and I don't feel like I have to make it into something spectacular so that we can all go, oh yes, well she is worthy of her life. No, she is worthy simply because she is.
Right. And I think what you hit on right there is what makes the story so beautiful is that even though you created it, it has this ring of truth to it. And the fact that Thisbe finds these small ways to be herself, even just by when she's able to listen to the white people talking, but look like she's not listening.
Yeah.
Those tiny little places where, what you said, she finds a way to be who she is within this life that is completely controlled around her, is much more authentic and beautiful than having her take an action she never could have taken, because, you know, she would have been beaten or killed or whatever. She's surviving. And but even within their surviving, to me, um it's so strange, but the white plantation owners in this book, because of all the self-deception they have going on with themselves, in ways, emotional, you know, mentally, they I don't want to say they seem more trapped, because obviously these other people are enslaved, but I feel like the enslaved people have more of an honesty with themselves that I admire more than this false, uh, you know, just pretending everything's great and fine when it's so not. And they're so involved with the people they enslave, their children. And, you know, this is a person who wipes her bottom, for goodness sakes. Bisbee, I mean, let's talk about that. And that's such an intimate act. And still, um, you know, Sylvie can't bridge that gap of seeing her as a person.
Right. Well, first of all, on at Sylvie's defense, let me just say she would take umbrage to you calling her a white person. Um, yes, she is white, but she is French
Right, right.
first
Pardon me.
and foremost.
Aw.
She
Right,
is
right, right.
French, and not and she has the bloodline that goes back hundreds and hundreds of years, French, you know. So she doesn't find commonality with other, like with American, like anybody from any of the other states. America isn't quite America, you know, isn't quite America yet. So people coming from the other states, white people from the other states, you know, the first thing that she hears is that they're not French, and she has turned off, or she has already put them in a certain place. So it so in Madame's defense, it would be an insult for her to be thought of as a white person, because anybody can be a white person, you know. But you see, you know, this is the kind of it's the kind of interesting relationship between people who give service, especially to those who are dependent upon them, and are also uh, uh, um, hold their power, hold their freedom at bondage. And so there are moments of it, though we might not quite see it here, in the real world of those times, there are moments of closeness and familiarity, familialness, and um, but then there is always that moment that you remember and you know who you are, and if you overstep, then that is, you know, then you are put back into place, you know, swiftly. So it's a very I've read a lot of slave narratives, and uh, or narratives, that's how they were documented. Maybe they will rebrand them as narratives of survivors. I've read a lot of those narratives, and it was just interesting, the relationships, especially within the household servants, because the household servants were there. Sometimes what happened was that the child of the cook might be the playmate of. That was their job, was to be the playmate of their master's children. And children play, children play, and then there comes a time where their parents teach them who they are, and then they have to fall into those roles, and yet they still have that closeness, and yet there's also the barriers. And so things might happen, whereas you pray that you can, like, if your playmate was your uh, um, um, maybe your playmate is going to get married, and you hope that you can then be a wedding gift to her, and continue. And so, um, because what were the other alternatives? What were you going to do? You see, so your life as maybe a playmate then is over. Um, what's next for you? You go in the fields? Do you have a trade? Did you help your mother enough that you could then become her helper in the household? So a lot of those relationships are very complicated. um, but there's always that line where it comes to that line where you have to know who you are and what your place is, and you don't cross it.
And
Or
that one of the moments that, and there's spoilers, people, so block your ears maybe, or there's enough in there that even if we give away a little piece, um, there's there's plenty in there. But one of the things that is just so extraordinary is Lucien, who's Sylvie's son.
yes.
Yeah, okay, I'm getting all the people right. And his daughter, who
Yeah, Rosalie.
Rosalie, who is, he's so proud of her, and so she's his daughter through a enslaved person that he raped, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
I got that right. So yeah, that's fine. He just overlooks that this was rape, and he just thinks this daughter, the way he talks about her is he admires her. She's beautiful. He sends her to a special school where she learns to be this amazing seamstress, which at first he doesn't think is such a great idea, but when he finds out how skilled she is, he's really proud of her, and he has these dreams that she's gonna marry somebody who's been a freed enslaved person, and they're going to take care of all the finances for Le Petit Cottage, if I'm saying that right.
Yes.
That has that isn't doing well financially. And he has all these plans, and she is still enslaved. Yes. If that doesn't get to the crux of his self-delusion, I don't know what does.
Well, it's not self-delusion, it's his right. So in his mindset, and within his society, that is his right. And I portray it as such because we don't get to understand how entrenched, and how poisonous, these relationships can be, and the long-lasting effects, until we look at them from the way their society viewed it. And then you see, from there, we understand what struggle is. From there, we understand why things had to change. So there was not in that mindset that he could not take that woman who was his best. Oh, okay. I'm not going to give away so much, but that he could just take that woman, and and then the child that resulted, that he could do that he saw a value in her. Yes, he's proud of her, but he also sees a value in her, and that's her saving grace. Let us face that. That's her saving grace. that that she's not only beautiful, she's useful. And so yeah.
I mean, I'm thinking about that, and she doesn't have a choice but to try to use her beauty and use her skill. But putting ourselves in her shoes, you also don't want to, because you're perpetuating the same thing. So there's so much to deal with.
But so here is the thing about choice. There is little choice. There is little choice. It's a we are so blessed. We really can affect our own destinies. Can you imagine a world where you can't? Where you are, we were talking about how children are, how they're taught who they are, taught their ideas and what they can be. But if you live in a world where your expectations are, they're basically what someone tells you what they are. Um, but luckily, um, a lot of a lot of Black people, they found ways to grow with it. They found ways to develop talents and skills. They found ways to make themselves, um, to give themselves something to hook dreams upon. And maybe those things could not happen right then and there, but but you had to always believe in the future. And this is where faith comes in, as being very important to Black communities, Black families. We've always had faith to kind of hold on to, even in a world where someone says, you can marry this person or you can't, or we're taking you from you're being sold away. You're going to this plantation over here in South Carolina and Georgia. I lost you in a poker game. You're going here. We have debt. We need to sell off some of our assets. So let's round up how many children. Let's round up and let's count. This is the world. This is what this country has come out of. And so trying to change the mindsets of people who benefit from having that kind of feeling of manifest entitlement. That as long as I can, as long as it is in the long run profitable, as long as I can benefit, it is fine for me to do this. God has determined this beautiful country is mine for the taking, and whatever I can do to enhance my wealth, well, that has been predestined for me. So these are the kinds of mindsets that we are working with.
So I have a question for you. The fact that these, the owners of the plantations view the enslaved people not as humans, but as property. And at one point, one of the main characters in the story says that directly to another one of the main characters who we love very much. It's right there in black and white. We're not going to say who and who. So,
Well, I was going to actually read that.
I love that part. Okay, then we will. Then we will. It is the author's choice. So now I have to think of what was I? Oh, okay. So am I being crazy to think that the fact that there has to be a justification, that they have to tell themselves they're not people, does that show that they know that somewhere inside they know that they are, because they had to make a justification or a reason?
See, here's the thing. How do I say this? through the years and years of indoctrination, there comes a point where you don't tell yourself that you know it, and it doesn't occur to you to question it.
And that's still
So
happening now. Is that
that's
still happening now? Like, that's the problem.
yes,
That's the problem.
yes.
That's what you're saying. That's the problem, is that there's a lot of people who know it. So where do we go from there, Rita?
And subconsciously, and subconsciously. Where do we go from there? I think, you know, you have to want to see something, first of all. You have to want to. And you have to not only want to see it, you have to want to talk about it as well. And I say to all of the non-African American people, don't go running up to every Black person that you know, assaulting them with the fact that you've been evangelized,
Oh,
and you see the light. um, it's it would be far better if we um, just take a moment each day and just recognize something, and know whether it's right or wrong, and not just let it go over your head. I'll give you an example. Black Lives Matter. Um, Now that has been branded as a terrorist organization. I think mainly for political reasons, but it's been branded as a terrorist organization. But think of what it says: Black Lives Matter. Um, please don't kill us.
yeah.
We're humans. We
That's
matter.
yes.
It's
Yeah.
the where that defensive response to, oh, please don't take my life, I'm a person, I matter. It's that response. Where does that come from? Where does that honestly come from? That's to me, it's more of a knee-jerk thing than really sitting down um and seeing and hearing. When people say Black Lives Matter, they're not saying we're coming to kill you and to destroy everything that is yours. Saying we need justice and to be recognized as human beings and citizens on the planet. We need justice, and just open your eyes. I'm a human being just like you. One of the saddest things that I've ever seen, okay, I'm going to say one of the things that stand out, because there's just too many. It's every day. But this man who was stopped, traffic stop, and he was told to get out of the car. He got out of the car. He put his hands up on the hood, I think, as he was directed. And the police officer, I believe it was a woman, um, she said something about his size or something. And then I'm not sure if she did, but one of the police officers then shot him and killed him. And it was videotaped, and it was found that they were justified in shooting this man who had his hands in the position that, so Black
Right.
lives, please don't kill us, matter.
Right.
If we've done something wrong, take us to justice, and then let justice.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a little confused by the people who are acting like there's anything wrong with that, or that the police need to be protected. I mean, I don't know about you, but I don't hear about all these, like, police being accidentally shot. And my viewpoint is, well, if you want to not have that reputation and you're doing the right thing, you should be policing yourself so you don't have people, doing this on the street. If you care so much about how people look at you, then care about who you hire, and who you have out there on the streets. Like, I'm not
Well,
worried about them. I'm just saying, I'm not worried about them.
okay, so policing, and that is a whole culture. It's a whole culture. And see, so here's the thing. Our communities need policing. We need I don't mean, oh, it's a Black community, go out and police them. We need law enforcement. We need security that police officers provide. We need that. I think every community needs that, right? Um, but there is a history, um, and now we're just seeing. I think with the advent of social media and having those cameras, videos ready, now we're seeing it, and I'm afraid that we're getting to the point that we're seeing it so much that it instead of saying enough is enough, it's going to go over people's heads. Um, yes, policemen are killed in the line of duty. It happens. They are killed by criminals, people enacting crime. But our issue is there are just simply too many citizens who are being killed first,
Right,
and
right,
then we find the telephone, Reese's peanut butter, or candy bar, whatever, wallet, um, later. Oops, a mistake. Or and then off, and then there is then you have the real problems where someone is taking joy in harming someone and killing them, and then you hear that in their own words. So that whole police culture, that is a conversation all into itself.
yep.
And it's yet another complicated, um, it's a complicated issue, because we need policemen. We just don't need them to be killing the citizens at
Well,
will.
I think that that's a pretty simple criteria. Hopefully we can figure that out. Let's get back to your book. Did you have something you wanted to read, or
Sure, sure.
we have 10 minutes? And I think I saw on your Instagram, you have somebody after us. You have another interview coming up.
Yeah, but
I want everyone to go out and get this book. It's a classic. It is. It's going to be. It's going to be. It's
thank you,
and
thank you.
and don't be scared of the subject.
Don't be scared. Don't be
No,
scared.
it's you. But that's the story is beautiful. Rita, I could not. I have a stack of books. I'm looking at them right now that I've told people I'd review, and they're piling up. I could not wait to get back to this one, and it had that feeling of sadness. I'm even getting a little emotional. Sad when it ended. Even with Sylvie.
Yeah. Yes.
Even with Sylvie. She drives, and it is that aspect of family. She drives you nuts, but she's still your family.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
So, okay. So, let me just set this up a little bit. I'm not going to give away too much. Let's see. Am I wearing the right glasses? Yes, I can read this. So there is going to be a party to unveil Madame's portrait, and so the poor house servants, Marie and Louise, who are twins, and they are Black Creoles. Well, they are Creoles. Um, they are in need of help because it's a whole big undertaking, and so they need help. So here we go. Madame looked up from her solitaire to find Marie and Louise standing before her. There was no need for their presence. She hadn't called for them. Well, she asked. Please, Madame Sylvie, Marie said. We need more hands to manage the party. Please, Madame Sylvie, Louise said. Let cook help us serve. Madame's face tensed. Certainly not. Cook is in the cookhouse. She stays there. The request seemed too much for Madame, and Thisbe waved the fan over until Madame fussed at her to stop. No, no, certainly not. Cook has no proper serving dress. No, she will ruin my party. This meant defeat to Marie and Louise. They knew Cook had the stamina to butcher, chop, fry, and bake in the cookhouse. She could stand on her feet and sweat and had never been sick a day and had no children and no man to care for. Parentheses. She had once been given a helper who fainted several times from being enclosed in that hot brick room. The helper was sent back to the cane field. In parentheses. Cook didn't have what Marie or Louise had, or Thisbe for that matter. She didn't have the proper respect for class, gentility. She couldn't be made to serve quietly, pleasantly, and most important, invisibly. The thought of the large woman serving the matrons of Madame's society and saying, Here, Madame, made Madame shudder. No amount of beating or coaching would change Cook's demeanor. Better to keep Cook in the cookhouse where she sweat over the food. Certainly not. Please, Madame Sylvie, let Thisbe help, Marie said. She does nothing all day. Thisbe made no expression, for this, among other things, Marie and Louise despised Thisbe. The sisters passed eyes to Thisbe. At least when the horsefly buzzes your ear. Swat. Thisbe read them well and answered silently with the slightest spread of her lips. Better the horsefly than a hornet. Certainly not, Madame said, oblivious to their silent exchange. You waste my time and yours. Think of all you could have done in the time you spent complaining. Yes, Madame Sylvie, they both said. Marie turned to go, but Louise eyed Thisbe with her utmost scorn. Thisbe smiled. When they left, Madame scolded. You see what happened because of the painter? They see you cleaning his things, carrying his water, and they forget you are my servant. Please pardon, Madame Sylvie, Thisbe said. I told Lebrun to use your hands and legs to assist him in the work of my portrait. I told Lebrun to not put ideas in your mind, and he has you looking at me, then looking at my portrait. You see this, my assistant? You see that? She said, mimicking him. And you dare to show your teeth and laugh in public. No, Thisbe, this is not good. Even my house servants forget themselves to tell me what I should do because they see you. Pardon, madame, have pity. Madame's face was stone. Fetch me the brush. Yes, Madame Sylvie. Thisbe hurried to the vanity and retrieved the sterling silver brush, knowing its intended use. The brush, Madame Sylvie. Madame took the brush. You are a body, Madame said, not a whole person. So I must punish your body with what strength I have. Now, hold out your hand, not the palm. Turn it over, the black side. Parentheses. Dear reader, if you must know, but cannot imagine, the answer is rage. The girl called Thisbe felt silent, jailed up rage behind her mask as she did as her mistress commanded.
Yep. Okay. That's what we're talking about here. Thank you. Thank you for writing this. Thank you for writing a lush, gorgeous story that brings up things we should talk about. We should all talk about. Let's do this thing. Come on.
Let's have those uncomfortable conversations.
Let's do this thing, right?
Yes, let's have those conversations and listen to each other, and don't shout down at each other, because then you're not listening, but listen to each other, and you are not there to agree with anyone, but to be heard.
Yeah.
Yes, to be heard.
And something I tell myself all the time is, with anyone, we are more alike than we are different. And I think if we can find those places to connect, like, maybe we'll, I wrote in my review for your book, like, let's make the land of the free like a real thing. Let's mean it. Let's be something special.
That's right. Let's be ambitious, y'all. Let's go big. Let's go free.
Let's do it. It's a pleasure. All right, everyone. Release day. Happy release day. Enjoy it. Enjoy this beautiful book. I'm so excited. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me.
Enjoy the rest of your celebration.
All right. Talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye.